Hi there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent training. Welcome to our weekly live question and answer class. This class has been on Fridays at this time for a long time, and now I'm going to starting tomorrow, a Saturday morning class. So that'll be at 9 a.m. Seattle time, 12 p.m. East Coast time. I hope you'll be able to join me on Saturdays at our new time. Today, at the start of class, I want to talk about another real talk phrase. So I use real talk to describe how written words and spoken English are different from each other. In written words, we can see word by word where one word ends and the next word starts. We can say all of the sounds in each word. But in spoken speech, we actually link words together and we drop and reduce sounds to be fluent. And it's still correct, even though it may differ widely from what you would say if you were saying each word by itself. So, for example, at the start today, I want to look at this phrase, that's what he's doing. And first, we'll talk about how it would sound word by word. So, as I write it, that is what he is doing. You can hear how, even if I say that as fluently as possible, if I say all of the sounds in each word, that is what he is doing. You can hear it doesn't sound natural. It's not fluent. It's not the way people actually speak. When I'm speaking, if I'm saying this phrase, I say, that's what he's doing. Doesn't matter if I'm in a professional context or talking with my friends, that's how it's going to sound. So let's take a look at how do we get from here to here and what happened to make that real talk. First of all, when we have little words like is, we often is or was or have or has, we often contract those. It's very common to use contractions for these helping words. You can see more about contractions in our American Accent 6-week course. It walks you through all of the basic contractions and how to use them. And it's not something that's incorrect or informal at all. It's correct, professional, and formal. So rarely would an American say that is what. The only time I would say that is if I was trying to emphasize and change the meaning to say that is what he's doing. So you actually want to avoid using that is if you don't have the intonation correct, because it's going to sound like I'm correcting you. No, that is what he's doing, rather than just that's what he's doing. So that is becomes that's. Of course, the apostrophe is just to show you that it means that is, but the sound is that's, just like hats or cats. And then he, him, her, some of these little pronouns that start with letter H, we sometimes drop that H. Now you have to be careful. You don't want to drop H on when you're starting with the sentence. I wouldn't ever say he is instead of he is. So it's a certain context where that pronoun is less important. In this case, what he is, the H is going to drop. Our he is going to do the same apostrophe. So if I was starting with this word, he's going, he's eating, he's writing, I would change he is to he's, and I would keep the H. But because I'm saying what he, then what happens is these two link, the H can drop, and then the T will follow the rules for final T, where if the next sound is a vowel sound, it becomes a flap T. It sounds more like a D. So that's where we get what he's. This is linked together rather than what he is. What he's, that's what he's doing. That's what he's wearing. That's what he's talking about. You have heard it a million times listening to native speakers, but you maybe never realized how different this is from what this is. One suggestion I have is that you can watch American TV and movies with the closed captioning on in English. So you're listening to the English and you're reading the English. And you might think that that's not a good way to improve your pronunciation, but actually research shows that if you can hear the way we link and reduce while reading the written words, your brain is going to better translate what's happening. And it's going to recognize that a lot of these little words are reduced, but they're still there. They don't drop out entirely. And so it can help your brain make sense of how what you know from reading and writing is different from what you need when you're speaking and listening. Okay, so we have that's what he's, and then doing doesn't change. The rhythm of this, that's what he's doing, going to be short and our stress and length here is on the doing syllable. So you can check out our Real Talk course on speechmodification.com for lots more videos like this, lessons like this, looking at sentences, looking and teaching you how to use TV and movies to improve your accent and your understanding, your fluency in English. That course is under $2 and it's on our website, speechmodification.com, on our courses page. All of our courses there are either free or under $2. So they're a great resource for you to build either advanced skills like this or the basic foundations you need for pronouncing anything you like in American English. We also have a Real Talk playlist here on YouTube where you can see more examples like this. Okay, thanks for listening to that lesson, our Real Talk start. I'll go ahead and turn to your questions now. I should have said at the start, please feel free to ask your questions at any time. If you're watching live, type them in the chat. And if you're watching as a replay, you can leave comments and I will get back to you with answers for your questions, resources, video links, etc. After class, I'll go through and make timestamps for each thing that we cover in this class so that you can easily find what you're looking for, find the answer to your question, and also find more resources related to your topic. Oftentimes, I already have a video going in a lot of detail about your words, so I will direct you to that after class. Okay, our first question from Catherine. She wants to know the sound of the letter E in the word English. Is it an I sound or an E sound? So in English, it is an I sound. However, when we have the letters NG or the ng sound after a word, English, the I sounds a little different. So technically, if I say it's English, my I is the same in both of these words. It's English. But I hold this one longer because it's stressed. And then the NG makes it a little higher, a little more nasal. It sounds a little tense. So I definitely don't want to do English. You can hear if I use an E, it doesn't sound right. But you can notice that the NG context influences how the I sounds. This is also true. We talk about words like man and men and min, that all of these vowels get a little bit raised up and a little bit nasalized because of the nasal consonant. So an NG or an N consonant will change your vowel sound a little bit. English, I am starting with this I tongue position, English, but as my tongue lifts into that NG, it does affect the sound of the vowel. You don't need to do anything different. In fact, you may need to try to focus on getting this instead of an E. You don't want English. That's just the effect of the context. So great question. And I do have a video just about how to pronounce English where I go over that a little bit more as well. Thank you for that question. Okay, we have a question. Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see channel subscribers and channel members here. Welcome. Melanie would like to know about the words starring and enhance. So in starring, what you want to focus on is that you have this R diphthong. Building from your R, add your T, R, tar, star. The T in star, it's not flapped or stopped. It's not fully aspirated. After an S, I can't really do star. So you'll hear it's kind of an unaspirated T. Just try to say your T naturally, star. Think about the same T as in tar, and it should come out correctly. And then we have our ing, just like in English, except for this time it's going to be fast, starring. Two R's, but one sound kind of moving the R into the R glides and connects into the ing, starring. So I don't really need star ring with two separate R's. I just move into the from the R and then back out into the ring, R-ring. And then your other word was enhance. And here our stress is on the hance. So we're going to have that black cat vowel. CE says the S sound. So thinking about at or man or that, again, to have that A vowel. And then the N, I do think of it as an F vowel, enhance, but it's going to be a reduced vowel. You might even hear it as enhance, just because it's not stressed and the vowel is reduced. Probably the dictionary is going to show you this one, enhance, enhance. It's almost like that N doesn't even have a vowel. I just kind of move very quickly over my high front vowel into the N, enhance, enhance. Good words. Thank you so much. Okay, we have a question about bathed and birthed. So bathed, we have the, if I say bath, it's the black cat vowel. In bathed, it changes to the A vowel. This is a voiced TH, bathed. And then we have to go right to the D sound. So it's kind of like bathed. That's a little bit tough. No sound between the th and the d. Just protrude the tongue for the th, d, and pull it back and stop the air for the d. Versus birthed, is going to have the so it's basically like burr, like cold, and the d, and birthed. I think you can say birthed with a voiced th or with a voiceless, birthed. And then it would have a T sound. Birthed or birthed. Great. Okay. And then question about, is it advisable to speak beginner English to beginner English learners at a slower pace than the normal speaking speed? Thank you very much. Yes, it's definitely, if you speak too quickly, which I know I sometimes do, it can be very challenging for a true beginner to understand you at all. Always kind of using a more simplified language and a slightly slower pace can be very helpful. What you don't want to do is stop and break your fluency. That is not going to help them in the long run. If they are used to hearing that word by word, like I was starting to show you in the real talk in the beginning, it's not going to help them develop listening skills for understanding fluent speech. Fluent speech is very fast. You don't have to go so fast, but you can still speak naturally, connect your words, phrase things naturally, and use natural intonation. As soon as I slow down too far or make too many pauses, it's going to be unnatural. It might be easier to understand. Of course, if we're talking about the very, very absolute beginner who knows nothing and you're using very short sentences, you may go slower and less natural. But I always think speaking as realistically as possible, but maybe slowing your rate can be useful for people. If people have thoughts on that, if you're a beginner or an intermediate learner, you can also respond to that question for our viewer and let him or her know what you think. But that's been my experience in teaching. Thank you. That's a very good question. Okay. We have a question about further and furthermore, and a difficulty with pronouncing it in sentences. There can't be a long schwa plus R in the first syllable, one sound, right? Further. Yes. So it's not further. These two sounds are the same. This one is just going to be longer than this one. So this one is the stressed and this one is the unstressed I like to write them this way. You will see them in the dictionary like that or like that. What I think that leads to the problem that you might be having, which is thinking of it as two sounds. You really need to think of the in bird or word or further. We spell it lots of different ways, right? But thinking of it as that being one sound can really help you. And then this one is the same. It's just that this one is stressed and this one is unstressed. So longer and shorter, but they're both that sound. So further and furthermore. Yeah, challenging words for sure. Okay, let me know if you need to know more about those words, but it sounded like your challenge was in that first sound. Another thing you could think about is saying this word for, or even in this word for. In fluent speech, we actually say that as fur. I don't say it's for you. I say it's for you, for you, for you, further, furthermore. Kind of just re-envisioning that word, sometimes rewriting it and trying it in different contexts can help you get it in that challenging context, like as in furthermore. Okay. Yes, very good. Question about violent, violin, and violence. Okay, so violent. You can probably say this slowly, violent, 3 syllables. You're really going to hear, though, it often reduced to 2 syllables, violent, with the I diphthong. Because we already have a gliding diphthong here, violent. So yeah, there's going to be a little schwa here for this O, possibly. Violent, but the aya goes by so quickly, it's almost becomes like a triphthong. So thinking about it just like violent, is how you're going to hear most native speakers saying it. This being the diphthong I, not the I sound. When we get to violin, it doesn't do that. We don't have violin. So in that one, think about it more like violin. So the violin player was violent. And then violence is same NCE instead of T. It's the same thing. It's violence, but we tend to say just violence. The violent violin player showed a lot of violence. It's okay to say violence, violent, but you'll probably notice when you're listening to other people saying it, that really gets reduced. That those first 2 syllables basically become one. Good question. Thank you. I don't think I have a video about that, but that would be a good topic to cover in one of my word of the day classes. Hi, Eddie. Nice to see you. Thanks so much for being a channel member. I really appreciate your support. Eddie wants to know about personal names like Edgar Allan or Barack Obama, whether they link. Yes. So Edgar Allan, Barack Obama. Influent speech, if I'm saying Barack Obama was our 43rd president, I should know that. Barack Obama was a great president. How about that as a statement instead? Barack Obama. I definitely link those two. I don't really want a strong link like Barack Obama, but pretty much depending on phrasing, we almost link everything. So yes, Edgar Allan Poe, Edgar Allan Poe, Gur Allen, it's going to sound linked just like that. That's a great question. Thank you. And then you had a grammar question. Water bottle truck. Water's bottle truck. So we would never do water's bottle unless this is someone's name. So like if I had a company or name named water, like if it was Michael's Michael's bottle truck, Michael then has a bottle truck. Water's bottle truck, if this was someone's business name, yes. Otherwise, it's just going to be water bottle truck. Because this is a noun being used as an adjective. It's modifying the bottle. It's telling you what kind of bottle. Compound noun, basically. Good question. Thank you. Okay, we have a question about whether the T sound is pronounced in words like affects, acts, prints, accepts. So when there's a cluster like CT, like affects, and a plural, we have so many things here, affects. This K sound gets stopped. You really don't hear the T there, affects. Affect, if I'm saying it without the S, that's the effect. Then I can say the T. Affects, I can't really do kt and s all together. Affects. So the T is what drops because the stopping of the K marks that the T is there as well. When it comes to, same thing for acts, the acts, If I go really slowly and carefully, I can say acts of kindness, but people generally drop that T. For prince, prince, there I think I hear it, right? Prince. Because for here, you don't hear it because the K sound doesn't continue. So one stop is all you get for both of these. For prince, if I left it out, it would sound like prince. So that's not how you have to have a marking for that stop sound there. I don't say print with an aspirated T, but I do make a stopped T there. And what that basically does is it means that the N is going to be very short. So in prince, the N is super short and then it goes right into the S. That's because I'm stopping the air for the T and releasing right into the S. Print, prince versus prince. If my N was long, it would sound different. So you can't think of that one as dropping, but you also really won't hear a T coming out for NTS. And then did you have another? Oh, accepts. Accepts is more like effects. Accepts. He accepts it. Again, I can't make two stopped consonants in a row, so I just stop the P, accepts it. And the P and the T get stopped together, and then I release into the S. That's a great question. And people have asked me about that before in comments. It's a little bit hard to describe in the answer to a comment, so I'm glad you asked in this class because now I can refer people to that description to understand when we have a cluster of stop consonants at the end, what happens versus an NTS consonant cluster. Great. Okay. We have a question about the prefix RE. I'm going to come back to you in just a minute to make sure I cover at least one question from each person who's here. And then if I have time, I'll take multiple questions from you. So we have another question about if there's a difference between golf and golf. So no, they both have the ul schwa, dark schwa L. So they're both this in the dictionary. So it's golf. He plays golf at the Gulf of Mexico. A golf player in the Gulf. And then your other question was, I think, bow and bow. Am I remembering that correctly? Yes. So bow, as in your sweetheart, and bow, like bow and arrow, also the same. They're both just the diphthong O. Yeah, so two examples of homonyms. Different spelling, different meaning, same sounds. Okay, and I'll come back to your question about obscurity if there's time at the end. We have a question about in and inappropriate. So we talked about something similar last week between in and inappropriate. In and inappropriate. You don't really need a break there. In and in. So it's kind of in and inappropriate. Yeah, you may need to take a break because it might be hard for you to sequence all of those, but to be understood, if you're saying it correctly, you won't need a break. You can also, if it was you that asked last week, you can refer back to last week's commentary on that, or maybe that was just a follow-up question from last week. I went into more detail on that linking last week over that question for those kind of challenging in and in, etc. Great. Okay. Okay. So question about, sorry, I'm trying to get to new questions from new viewers. And again, as I said, I'll try to return to your second and third questions later if there's time. We have a question about the word orangutan. Looking orangutan. So I think as a child, I said orangutan with an ang here, but orangutan. Um, let's look this one up in the dictionary just to kind of break it down, because I know that's one that now as an adult I can pronounce it correctly, but I just think it's a great resource to be able to look up anything you want in the online dictionary. So I'm going to show you if I can get it to open. So when you go to speechmodification.com, our website, if you're on your phone, it'll look like this. And you can go to the menu here on the left. And what you want is to go to the free practice area, because then you'll see that there's, if you scroll down, there's a search box here at the bottom. Sorry, I usually show you on my iPad, so I have a little more room. So if you find the search box, you can type in dictionary or any word, any sound you're looking for, and you'll see that it'll bring up a list of the lessons related to that. So I do have a lesson, several lessons about dictionaries, some of the things that you can use for online dictionaries, and the one that I typically like to use is the Oxford Learner's Dictionary. I like it because it shows you British English and American English. And so we're just going to type in orangutan. See that I'm still kind of using my childhood pronunciation of that. Oranga. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble seeing. Okay. And we'll see what they have to say. So they do have tan at the end. So we're starting with a schwa. And then we have, just like the word rang, orangutan. So I'll write it out here so you can see it bigger. We have unstressed first syllable. So O says and then we have just the word rang spelled correctly that way. So that's where our stress is, like rang the bell. So rang. And then the next U is another sound, another schwa. And then just another vowel with an N at the end. So orangutan. What I suffered from when I would say tang instead of tan was a process called assimilation, where our mouth wants to do a repetition of two similar sounds in the same word. So I see that a lot in non-native speakers with words like, for example, city has an I and an E, and people will sometimes say CD or city. Their mouth wants to make both those vowels the same. So when I was a child, my mouth wanted to make rang a tang, just repeat the same sounds, but to say it correctly, orangutan. So even someone who works on pronunciation and accent for a living needs tools like the dictionary. And I don't always pronounce everything perfectly. And if I had to say that word a lot, I'd probably need to practice saying orangutan a few times to make sure that I didn't accidentally say tang at the end instead. Thank you for that excellent word. Okay. Wow. So many of you here today. It's wonderful to see all your questions. Thanks so much. Let's see. I'm just trying to check and see if we have anybody who hasn't had an answer. I will go back now and take a few second questions before we wrap up for the day. So stay with me. And if I don't get to everyone's second and third questions, I will come back after class and check and give you resources and links if I have them for your questions and topics. Okay. We had a question about the word obscurity. So let's break that one down. Obscurity. So there's our ity ending we were just talking about with city. And then stress here is on the scure. So the O is going to be a schwa. Stress on scure. This is an example of a U that has the glide and obscure. I'll put it here as an because there's a little U-like quality to it. So I would write that kind of obscurity. This is a flat because it's between two unstressed vowels. Obscurity. That kind of looks like skyer though. So think about like maybe scure, cure, scure. It's like the word cure, which is where the spelling comes from. Obscure, obscurity. What I hear sometimes is that people will say "cur" there or "cur." They miss that "y" gliding sound. So make sure that you include that in obscurity, security, those types of words. Great word, good request. Thank you. Okay. Question about tips on making S and SH sounds. So she or he has a tongue twister for me. Your statement was, Sean wants to switch seats with Shane and Sam. Okay, so going back and forth between S and SH can be challenging if S and SH are not distinct enough for you. The difference between the S and the SH, I talk about in some of my videos, and after class, I'll direct you to some resources for that. For the S and the SH sounds, this one is forward and thin, and this one, the tongue is pulled back, shh, and lips are larger. There's more air escaping. So if I have to say Sam and Shane, I have to just Sam and Shane, shh. I have to really mostly focus on this shh being bigger and then still bringing the tongue forward and reducing for the S. So switch seats with Shane. Shane switches seats. It definitely takes a little bit of concentration. I would focus on each of these separately and then build up slowly. So maybe not your whole sentence at first, but practicing pairs, for example, like same, shame, like pass. Pash isn't a word. How about cash? Dish, cash. So getting these contrasts, of which I was going to just point out to you that in my video about S and SH, I have a lot of contrast words. And I think going back and forth, doing close two-word sentences, so you really just feel distinctly the mouth differences between those sounds. And then just slowing down enough to not slip up between the two. Of course, we have that famous tongue twister, she sells seashells down by the seashore. And even native speakers have to go a little bit more carefully and slowly for something like that. So just thinking about seashore, she sells seashells, that you're really having distinct mouth positions for them. And also being aware of the sounds, because sometimes we have, words like sure has the sh sound, not this sound, or mission versus miss. Here we have the SH sound. So just being aware of the spelling and the sounds. And then motorically, I think it's just kind of practice. So it's not super easy, but those would be the tips I have for you. Thank you for bringing that up. It's definitely challenging for a lot of people, including native speakers, depending on the context. So, okay. Question about how to link and how to obey the rules for linking. So linking is very different depending on what the sounds are. I would maybe start and pay attention first to voiced sounds at the ends of words. It's a good place to practice. For example, words like had or did, you can just practice in some really short phrases, thinking of had it as had it, or did it as did it. For linking those, I do have a number of videos about linking. As I mentioned in the beginning, our Real Talk course teaches you about linking and reduction, so that's a great resource. It's on the courses page for speechmodification.com. And then I do, of course, have many videos here on YouTube as well about linking, thinking about taking it slow and going for these shorter 2 and 3 word phrases at first to get used to the idea of linking. You probably actually already are naturally linking somewhat in your speech. And then listening to a lot of native speakers who are speaking fluently and just listening for where you hear what they're doing and trying to imitate those linked phrases that you hear is a very useful way to learn about it and to be able to use that. Okay. So a follow-up on furthermore, the R to voice TH transition is very hard. Further. Yeah, it is. Basically, you just have to kind of do further. I would build from the back So if I'm doing further, for getting this transition, I would build from here. I would try So your tongue is ready for that R position, and then sneak the tongue forward for the TH. There, and then finally just there. You're doing both. So building from the it's gonna, when there's an R and a TH, the R needs to take precedence and the TH has to just accommodate that R. Otherwise, you're not going to get the R. It's going to just be more like the R won't be tight enough. So always thinking of the R as being the first most important, and then building that TH in next can help you. I do have some videos about words with TH and R together. You might find those helpful. For all of these sounds of English, you also might want to check out our Sounds of English course on speechmodification.com. It goes through each of the individual sounds and spelling, helps you build a really strong foundation. And then our American Accent 6-week course helps you more with sequencing, fluency, and building that American accent. And then, of course, our Real Talk course that I mentioned at the beginning is more of that advanced, fluent, linked speech. Okay, I'm going to wrap up here for today. I apologize if I didn't get to your question, but good news. I'm going to be back again tomorrow, Saturday, with another live question and answer class just like this one. So I'm changing over from this Friday time slot to Saturdays at 9 a.m. Seattle time, 12 p.m. Eastern time. So 3 hours earlier than now. We'll start this again tomorrow morning. For a while, I may be doing both Friday and Saturday because I want my Friday regulars like you to have the opportunity to switch over when they're ready. But I think Saturdays are going to be a great time where a lot of people are available. And I hope that that works for you and that you'll join me. Excuse me. Feel free to give me feedback on the times and what you think. But I'm looking forward to seeing you in tomorrow's Word of the Day class, as well as in tomorrow's extra live question and answer class. Hope to see you there. Thanks everyone for a wonderful class. It was wonderful seeing you. Great questions today. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye everyone. Thank you so much.